Sai Ram. I seek the blessings of Sri Satya Sai Baba before I address this gathering. और आज अंतर मन से आनंद हो रहा है to see all of you in this auditorium. Because I think कोरोना काल में 2 साल से हम कुछ नहीं कर पाए, 3 साल हो गए, मिल नहीं सके एक दूसरे को. और आज एक भाव ये ऑडिटोरियम में दिख रहा है और the topic that you've chosen, Ridesh, is very close to my heart. So I'm indeed very happy that we have all gathered here after such a long time. So firstly, I just want to share my emotions for all the pains and sorrows that people have gone through during this period. Many of you would have gone through a lot of emotional turmoil. Some of us have even lost people who are close to us. So I think this was a really testing time for all of us. I think in a sense it flipped the switch of humanity. In a sense it made us aware that one little virus, which is not even a microgram, can shut down the entire world. So I think we need to retrospect and think about where we are headed as human beings. I welcome Vice Chancellor Shri Videsh Deshpande ji, Dr. Ashish Pandey ji. Thank you for speaking at this forum. I was hearing you very intently and intentionally, trying to figure out what your philosophy is and what mechanisms you use to bring to the Indian education system. And I was very pleased because there was a very inner depth in the words that you spoke. And I think only over a period of time, people will understand the wisdom of what the ancient Indian education system offers. So thank you for accepting our offer to come here and to address this gathering. I would also like to welcome Shri Bukul Kanetkar ji, who will be joining us on a video conference. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it personally, but I'm grateful for his presence. And of course, Dr. Gauri is also amongst us. So thank you for coming and gracing this occasion. I'm quite excited to hear all the speakers because this is a topic again very close to my heart. And I think there are certain subjects that we are covering. So some of the subjects are the limitations of the prevailing systems in India, I should say Bharat. And honestly, I think most of you know that when the British came to India, they sort of changed the education system of India. It was the Macaulay pattern of education that they implemented and forced on to the Indian culture. Which in a sense gave India a perspective of being a global player, to integrate with the world economy and to understand how the world operates. Unfortunately, what happened is that there was only one mechanism that was put forward, and all the ancient wisdom of India, which has been going on for thousands of years, for centuries, was eroded, in fact almost looked down upon under. And I think that was the biggest fault in the system that created a generation which is very different. So my mother is a Sanskrit scholar. So when I grew up, I told her that why did you educate me in convent? Because my English is good, but my Marathi and Hindi is not as proficient as how I can communicate in English. And Hindi हमारी राष्ट्रभाषा है, Marathi मेरी मातृभाषा है. तो मैं उसमें वार्तालाप करने में क्यों झिझकता हूँ? So my mother said that during that time it was a prestigious thing for you to be in a convent school, and I thought I did you a favor by putting you in a convent school. But then as I grew older, I realized that there is so much wisdom in the Indian system, and this really came through revelations. It did not come by someone telling me how the Indian system of education was. Because as a child I was always curious, I had a very inventive mind, and I used to get involved in many religious ceremonies. I used to think about the amazing, wonderful nature that we have around us. And it always intrigued me as to how we exist or why we are born, because that question always came to me that you are born one day and you are gone one day. So it's a very short journey in a sense that we say that 80, 90 years you spend on the planet. But what is the purpose of life? What is the meaning of life? I mean, it just can't be that you're born and you die. There has to be something greater. There has to be something that is even something we can't imagine. And that kept me thinking for a number of years. So that took me to my journey of meditation and spirituality, which again was self-exploration. I have been in the company of a lot of gurus, a lot of wise leaders. And one experience I would like to share with you is when you observe people, you learn a lot. You can learn good things, you can learn bad things, but you can also learn a lot of spiritual things. And I feel every time you meet a successful person, you meet a guru or you meet a business leader, they have that innate ability to give you something. And I think your curiosity needs to pick up that what is that innate ability of that individual that has given him this rise, that has given him this growth. Few things my father taught me were humility and dignity. He always told me that never be egoistic, never be proud, always maintain your humility, because you're born in a culture where humility is respected, you're born in a culture where this is the way of life. And these were certain things ingrained into our DNA at a very young age. Also, I think in the family, the teachings were always for the greater good. It was not for selfish motives. It was not for just creating centers of excellence. My father, as a young boy, told me, and I remember asking him as to why you started these educational institutes, because he was a hardcore politician once upon a time. And but he always had this seva bhavana in him. कि मन में बहुत समाज कल्याण के लिए बहुत प्यार था, प्रेम था. And there was a complete transformation in his personality. And I remember asking him, so he said, there is a mission in my mind that India doesn't have educated people, India doesn't have knowledgeable people. And I want to educate the people of India so that they can get meaningful jobs, they can do more with their lives. And if I can create an insignificant change, I would feel that I've done something. So I said, what is your mission? So he said, my mission is to go on and you will complete that mission, he told me. So I said, so that's a big burden to take, because what he started was something tremendous. It was a moment. And he said, if you can't complete the mission, your children should complete the mission. If they can't complete the mission, their children should complete the mission. So that's the kind of depth of understanding that that person had, and he inculcated that. And I believe that for any change to happen, and that change has to happen for the greater good of humanity, we need to understand the depth of our existing. It should not be about our selfish motives. It should not just be about our existence as to how successful we are. Success should be measured by what kind of ideology you can bring into other people, who will again create more success for other people, create more happiness for other people, improve the quality of lives of other people. I think the ancient Indian systems of teaching have many of these ingrained. I'm a great follower of Ayurveda as well. We have medical hospitals and we have a lot of doctors amongst us as well. So there's always a debate whether this system is right or that system is right. I say both systems are okay. I think we need to amalgamate both these systems, because when we have extremely polarizing views, that's when the problem happens. But for so long we believed in research, we believed in development, which is come and validated by scientists from various parts of the world. Why don't we validate our systems? Why don't we believe into our own systems, which are proven, which are very true? And I think a time has come for the new generation to understand that that validation is very important, because eventually I see India taking our education to the world. I always used to speak, even as a child I used to see, people used to talk about collaboration. So even with Deshpande, jokingly I said, Deshpande tells me I have a collaboration in Finland, I have a collaboration in Switzerland. So I said, what about your collaboration in Varanasi? And there used to be discussions in the boardrooms as to what I'm talking about. So in a little way we started value-based education in our components in the university sector, because the education sector is so regulated in India, it's so rigid, so it becomes very difficult for any university or any college to really innovate and create a center of excellence according to how they wish to teach or do. So I think there needs to be a complete sort of a radical rechange in the way we look at education. And the Indian word shikshan literally means learning at every moment. And we need to bring in those values. There needs to be a lot of syllabus change, there needs to be a lot of integration between the systems of the West and the East. And I think if we can have a combination of both these systems, we can have the world's finest education centers. I always keep saying we should have the best of the East and the best of the West. And so much of our knowledge is really so far superior than what we've been learning. even in terms of space exploration, for example, in terms of astrology, astronomy. NASA today is discovering planets. NASA today is discovering how eclipses occur. And the Indian sciences taught us about Bhugol, the earth, the Vedas teach us about our way of life. And there's so much science in it. Quantum physics is spoken about. So I think these manuscripts that exist in Sanskrit, that exist in Indian languages, should be translated widely, should be circulated widely. Speakers of reputation should go out to the world and sort of start a movement to make people understand that how rich this culture is, how unique this culture is. And it's really a culture of understanding. It's a culture of inclusiveness, where it wants the whole world to be a happy place. So I think we can be a beacon of hope for the entire world. And I'm really happy that that this event is happening, because over a period of 5 days, I urge all the faculty members, I urge all the visitors to listen intently and get some key takeaways. Let's not just fill up the auditorium because there's an event going on, but rather what we can take back home. And again, in terms of Ayurveda, I think we have Ayurvedic schools, we have Ayurvedic colleges, and I think it's a brilliant system of medication, because it doesn't treat the symptom, it treats the disease. And I think in a sense that's where disease really occurs, because your state changes, and disease really doesn't occur because there's something wrong with that particular area, but there's some symptomatic issue that's happening within the body, and Ayurveda, I think, goes to the root cause of that. And over a period of time, I think even Western sciences have figured out that the benefits of the Indian system, because of late we hear about intermittent fasting. People eat 1 meal a day or they skip meals. और उपास की परंपरा तो हमारे में सालों साल से है. So I think the Indian seers and sages knew the effect and quality of fasting and cleansing their body, because it was a system to rejuvenate and make people healthy. So these are some little things. I meditate a lot. I meditate every day, and I believe in the system of balancing the energy, the prana in your body, and what you think you become, what you sow, you will reap. So these are just such easy sort of philosophies to follow, and I think we inculcate them in our everyday lives. Our lives will be truly meaningful, truly beautiful. Challenges are faced by people. Challenges are faced by people every day. I face challenges as well. We face challenges as well. But the spirituality that is ingrained in you gives you the strength to sort of face that challenge. Because a challenge is not really a challenge. It's merely a passing moment. And that moment has to pass. It goes away. Just after a night, there is a day. After a night, there is a day. So life is a circle of ups and downs. You can't be on a perpetual high or on a plateau. Then life would be meaningless, because without sadness, there would be no happiness. So I think we have to appreciate everything in life that life throws at us. I was faced with a tremendous challenge during the COVID period because of the closure of our institutions. There was a perception that educational institutes are doing a wonderful job, they're money making because it's online. But there was a lot of stress because there are a lot of other services like my lovely bus drivers, my sweepers, my cleaners, my security team, and there's a complete ecosystem that was disturbed. And I think, in a sense, taking everything online would also create so many issues, because there's this beautiful energy that surrounds people when they're together. And like I said earlier, the world is one. I often, when I take off in an aircraft, I quote this example. If you go to a tall building, say you go to the 20th floor, a human on the street will appear small. If you take a helicopter, a human will appear even smaller. If you take an aircraft, the land starts to become small. If you take a rocket, the earth starts becoming small. And the further you go away, the earth also becomes a dot, or really doesn't exist when you go further away. So that's the vastness of our existence. That's the vastness of our cosmos. That's the vastness of our galaxy. And yet, as humans, as individuals, we have ego, we have hatred, we have pride. So where does this come from? Because we're so insignificant in the whole design of the cosmos. About time that we realize that we are one mass, we are one society, we have to work for the greater good together and work for the welfare and culture of the people. What is happiness? Happiness is directly a question of, I feel, contentment, because I feel if we are content at a certain point of our life, then we are totally happy. If we start comparing ourselves to A, B, C, then the contentment will never come, because someone will always be greater, someone will always be bigger, someone will always be better. But the same is, someone will be smaller, someone will be sadder, and someone will be more depressed. So I think you have to look at life in a positive way. You have to go on, forge ahead, and look at life in a positive way. Just 3 years back, we did the Ati Rudra Havan at our campus, and we had these extremely knowledgeable pandits, 100 of them, chanting in unanimous harmony and creating a wonderful environment. And I got criticized for doing some events as well, because many of the non-believers said that why would you do something like that in a university? And what one has to realize is those havans are not being done for the university or for my personal growth. They are being done for the happiness of the world. They are being done for the development of the world, because the prayers that are chanted by people, the energy that it creates, the effect that it creates, there is a science behind that. And I think we need to validate that science, because I personally believe it's a science. It's just not faith. And people say you have to have faith, but every scientist has had faith before any discovery was made, because every discovery before it was made was almost hoodwinked at, not looked at, whether it's the greats like Einstein, Aryabhatta, all are top scientists. Nobody believed. At one point people thought the earth was flat, but it was proven it's around. So I think over a period of time, our perceptions of what is right, what is wrong, what is old, what is new, will change. And I feel personally that this new generation is more acceptable to change. They have that idea of discovery amongst them. They want to understand what the reality of life is. So I think we should keep our rigid ways away and go on a discovery path and figure out. So research, I was just speaking to Sir here some time back, and research is really not research in the sense that you're discovering something new. It's you're rediscovering something which was already there. And if you look in our granthas, you look in our manuscrits, you look in our scriptures, technology has always been there. We are just rediscovering technology. Just a few days back, a joke was forwarded to me from the thumbprint to biometrics. So we are going back to the thumbprint, and even the thumb is unique to every individual. So obviously there is some coding that's happening at a greater level that we don't understand as to why we are so different, why we are so unique. And again, some of the issues touched on, some of the topics here I would be very keen to understand and listen to them. And even the system of justice, we speak very often about karma, and karma is essentially a system of justice, but we just don't understand that, because it's a system which can't be hidden from everyone. It's a system where no lawyer can defend you, or you can cheat or hoodwink the system. But I personally believe that it's your actions that shape you up. It's your actions. If people believe in birth, rebirth, it's your actions from your previous birth. If people don't believe in rebirth, it's your actions from this birth. If you do some good to people, good things will happen to you. If you do something bad to a person, bad things will happen to you. So it's a cycle. But eventually, I think you have to radiate and gravitate to a level where you transcend all these thinkings. You go above, beyond all these thinkings, and you become ingrained with the one, the creator. You try to understand where you come from, what is your source. And I've been studying astronomy a lot, I've been studying astrology a lot, and whereas NASA is only now discovering the constellations, the different galaxies, we've already been speaking of the 14 lokas, the 7 heavens on top and the 7 hells below. So all of this science is already there, so I think we just need to validate it. Deshpande, I've been speaking to you about innovative engineering. And innovative engineering is something that you need to take up with a passion, because just like agriculture in the recent last 10 years has picked up significantly, because predominantly India is an agricultural driven economy. 70 to 80% of our mass is rural, and that's where the real growth needs to come. It's just not the urban cities, because urban cities there are enough jobs, people have access to educational facilities, but what is education really? Is it just a degree hanging on the wall, or is it a knowledge system that you imbibe, ingrain, and put forward in your life? So I think that's really an educational system. So, Vice Chancellor, I would ask you to really look into innovative engineering with a very pragmatic view, with a very laser-focused sort of objective, so that we really start something which is different compared to the other universities. And I truly believe that while many education institutions are coming to India, I think Indian education system should go to the world, because we have a lot to offer. And it's happening through yoga, it's happening through spirituality, so it's just not the mystical curiosity that people have about India, that India is a land of mystery. But it's also a land of science, it's a land of culture, it's a land of tradition, it's a land which has thousands and thousands of years of legacy. So I think we need to sort of evolve to that stage. And I'm happy the leadership in the country is also doing many things to propagate this cause. I personally admire Prime Minister Modi for what he's doing, the kind of good work that he's putting in for the country. And it truly feels inspiring to hear someone talk about the greater good of people, rather than just the growth, development, and statistics and ratios. Because I think there has to be a fundamental change in the way people think. India is the only country probably which has not attacked any nation. And when you see all these wars, what has happened in Ukraine, in Russia, my heart bleeds, my heart leaps. Because humans have been given intelligence, humans have been given potential. How can you go and kill some individual? How can you attack another country? So that by itself is a degeneration of our thoughts, a degeneration of society. Because to adhere to violence and to achieve your goals is not what we were brought here for. And perhaps this is the first time in the history of the world, at least in the present history, where technology connects us so easily. So it's easy to sort of send out information to different parts of the world, to spread the philosophy, to spread love. I also fondly heard Swami Vivekananda's transcripts and his words when he spoke at the Chicago conference, where he sort of offered Indian spirituality to the world. And I think these were great leaders, but why should we only rely on great leaders? Why not every citizen of this country become that great Indian and become a beacon of hope for the entire planet? Today you see so many people suffering with depression, suffering with anxiety, suffering with failures, suffering because they feel they will not be able to achieve their goals. But life is just a journey, and I think our ancient wisdom teaches us through meditation, through different practices, you can remain at peace with yourself. And I think it's very important to remain at peace with yourself. So this should be ingrained into the educational system of India. Because through spirituality and through these mechanisms, I think we can create better citizens. So I feel a time has come now that even traditional educational institutions need to adopt these systems. And at a government level also, there is a change where the flexibility is offered to these institutions, where credits could be taken for participating in these kind of events, or ancient wisdom knowledge systems could become part of your main syllabus. I think that would go out in a big way. So again, I feel we need to work with the world, research with the world, and because there are so many good practices that are there from the West, and their pursuit of discovery. The Americans have invented so many things. I think if we combine our resources, the combined wisdom, the combined resources of all the good people around the world, we can truly make this world a better place. So I speak very passionately about technology, but I think technology, while it's helping us, we also need the human touch, because as humans we need to be with each other, we need to interact, we need to be socially together, because these are skills that need to be developed. I have two young daughters. They also hooked on to technology, and in fact, children born during the Corona time, or who are 3 or 4 years old, some of them have not even seen schools. So it's a very different generation that's growing up, because they're getting ingrained in a culture where they feel is right. And I personally feel there's nothing right or wrong. It's your perception about what is right or wrong, because what may be right to you may be wrong to someone else. So I think it's understanding each other and really going into the depth of this knowledge system where you will understand. I was speaking about saints. I'm in the company of a lot of saints, and there used to be a saint in Hanuman Takli. I used to call him Mama Maharaj. He's no more, And he was meditating for more than 30 years, and he was a Krishna Bhakt. And I used to ask him as an inquisitive child as to what do you know about the cosmos, what do you know about life, what do you know about God, so he used to just look at me and laugh. And after laughing several times with my persistence, he told me, Marathi बोलतो मी, अरे वेड्या मी 30 वर्ष भक्ती करतोय, 30 वर्ष I'm meditating. मला एवढं कणभर कळलंय, मला एवढं कणभर कळलंय. So I was aghast because I said, if a person is so committed to understanding the reality of life, and for 30 years he's put in his life to understanding that, and he says that he just knows a drop, so then who are we to sort of judge people or claim that we know everything or I'm an expert at that particular field? I think that the word shikshan by itself is learning every moment. So it's our ignorance really that makes us feel superior. It's our ignorance really that prevents us from learning. It's our ignorance that makes us not understand other people. But every individual gets a learning. So I really want to hear all the people, because on this topic I can go on and on and on. And it's a subject which is very, very close to my heart. Many of you would have heard me briefly I skirt on these subjects when I'm talking of statistics and figures and moving into the new world. But subtly, somewhere spirituality always comes in my lectures, in my discussions. So really, I'm grateful that you are all here. I'm grateful that I'm born here, born in this family, and that we can make a significant change for the betterment of this planet, the betterment of this world, because there are so many people who are suffering. There are so many people who need to be uplifted out of poverty. There are so many people who need food. There are so many people who need housing. And I think the little privileges that we have, we should appreciate and learn that what we have, many others don't have. So it's not a pursuit of always what we don't have, but what we already have. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I always end my conversation with Satya Sai Baba's quote. And he says, and I quote, there is only one caste, that is the caste of humanity. There is only one religion, the religion of love. And there is only one language, the language of the heart. Thank you very much. God bless you.